Hi, how are you today? Purpose of this little video is to give you some insights into what it is that I'm looking for in the first of the four pre-intensive tasks that you're required to complete and submit by 8 AM on the first day of the intensive course. So the first of these tasks, and by the way, other than the fourth one, you can do these in any order that suits you. The first of these tasks that I'm going to talk about though is mind mapping. So mind mapping is also referred to in some of the design thinking literature as affinity clustering. It's a methodology that you may have been using for many years now to identify patterns and to reorganize things, to think about how things fit together and how they might be moved around to fit together in different ways. So the first thing that you're going to be asked to mind map is the ways that you are going to research and understand the wicked problem that we're dealing with in this course. So let's step back a bit. What's a wicked problem? A wicked problem is a complex problem, a problem with many levers, a human-centered problem where, because of its complexity, there are multiple solutions and there are many different ways of approaching a particular problem. Whilst there are multiple solutions, it might be that there is no one perfect solution or no one solution that is perfect in all situations. A wicked problem is the kind of problem that every time that you do anything with that problem, when you provide some kind of potential solution or otherwise, that solution itself adds to the complexity of the problem. So the ideas of wicked problems were originally defined by Rittel and others. You can read about them on Canvas, and were in the context of urban design and town planning, as well as architecture. So the idea of the wicked problem is that it is a problem that fits within a complex ecosystem. So we've got a complex problem, a wicked problem that we want to solve. And so the first task for mind mapping is to identify the many different aspects of the problem and the many different ways that you can find out more about the problem in the what if or the discover stage of the design thinking process. I like to use the analogy of a newborn baby when I think about my wicked problem. The task of us as design thinkers is to fall in love with our wicked problem, to really get a strong understanding of that problem and to not be satisfied with just any solution. So think about it. Many of you will have babies or have children of your own. All of you will know somebody who has had a baby at some point, even if that's only your mother. And so I want you to just think about what it's like when your baby is born, when a newborn baby comes into the world. Everybody has so much expectation. And everybody wants to see that baby grow up to be happy, to have the best solution, the best life possible. But you're not going to, for your new baby, just accept the first life that comes along. No, you're going to think deeply about what this baby in this circumstance needs. What kind of education is the best for your baby? What kind of life partner will suit your baby the best? Now, babies are complex beings. They don't always do what we want them to do. They don't always react in the way we expect them to react. Problems are the same. Now, please don't get me wrong. Your baby is not your problem. Might be, but that's not what I'm saying here. I want you to think about, to visualize the same sort of connection with your problem as you would have with your baby. So now that we've got that idea, the next part of this process is to think, okay, I really care about my problem. I really care about my problem. How am I going to discover more about it? So mind mapping is pretty simple and quite fun exercise. I'm standing here in front of a door because doors are fabulous blank empty spaces to work on. You might feel more comfortable doing it on a piece of paper to start off with. You might just want to draw straight on a piece of paper, but the designer's secret weapons are post-it notes or sticky notes and blank spaces. So basically here's some I've already prepared. What I did is I started off by thinking about my problem, different ways I might solve it. And so what I'm going to do now is try and arrange this, have a couple of goes at arranging them into clusters, affinity clusters, so clusters of like things, so that I can get the first draft of a mind map up and going. So just bear with me for a minute. So yes, this might not look like anything very much at the moment, but what I've started to do is gather different ideas I had into different buckets here. So I have a bucket over here of things that might happen using technology, where I might be able to get more information about the problem by sitting at my desk, in the context of sitting at my desk, and I could look on LinkedIn, I can look on Pinterest or Instagram. I can find what other people are doing with maybe searching some different hashtags, etc., around creativity or whatever some keywords might be for my particular wicked problem, and I can work out how it is. In this particular case, my problem is how we might get people to think outside the box a little more. I just put my love heart there so I can remember that I've fallen in love with my problem. So these are some things that I could do online. I've also asked the question, who cares? And I've started to gather a list up the top of different kind of stakeholders who might care about this problem. I've used some drawings here, by the way, too, and I think it's important to remember that design thinkers find that it's really useful to use visualization for a range of different reasons. So using the pictures provides us with a bigger story, 1,000 words for every picture, as the old proverb says. So the other thing about having a picture is that it provides insight and gives opportunities for people to discuss. So for example, one of my pictures here, I've drawn what is, supposed to be a little employee sitting there in jail, feeling confined in some way. And what I'm thinking about there is, what research could I do to really understand the extent to which trying to make an employee more creative might in fact be a negative for that employee, might make them feel more constricted. But also, just by drawing it this way, the next time I look at it, I think, oh, actually, how might their environment now be constrictive and restrictive? What can we do about that? And again, so that opens more questions in my brain. So at this stage, we're not trying to solve the problem. What we're trying to do is really understand what the problem is and the different things that we might look at to really understand the problem more deeply. So I also thought about some different kind of research that I could do to get to know more about what's going on. I could talk to supervisors. I could conduct a survey. I could compare different offices across a multinational. What KPIs do they have the same, or what kind of things do they do differently? I could observe, watch and learn. Now, a lot of these ideas I got from looking in the textbook. So the textbook will really help you here. And if you haven't already read until at least the end of chapter 6 in this, I would suggest that you stop right now, actually. Just note where you're up to. Go back, read the text, then come back and see how this technique with the information that you've gathered about other tools might help you here. So I've identified a number of other tools that we talk about in the materials and in Canvas that might be valuable, particularly listening and talking to customers, listening and talking to employees. I've also got some other questions that I want to pull out. For example, I think it's probably important to know what the budget is and what the costs are of the problem at this stage, because that will give me some insight and greater understanding of the problem. I think a really important one here is I've also made a note that I really need to talk to some people and understand what creativity is. Do I have a common understanding of creativity? Is creativity the right word to use in this context? Is it really related to thinking outside the box? So as I bundle these things together, I see different patterns and other issues. So as I think about what creativity is, I remember that up here I've got my desk research bundle, but maybe what I need to do is pull out the questions of what creativity is from an academic research point of view and have a look at that. That might then trigger my thought to, well, actually maybe I just need to take a plunge here and try and create my own definition of what creativity is. Where am I taking a risk? Where am I not taking a risk? So the other things that I've got a little bundle of things here of gathering together my little toolkit of design thinking tools, and you will be starting to read about what those tools are. Now, I don't expect you to know about all of them before you start, but you have enough resources in the pre-reading to get a sense of which of the tools might be interesting to try, so that you can go into this assignment with a sense of what it is that you want to have a go at doing. So hopefully that's enough guidance for the first task. Once you've arranged and rearranged a couple of times, then you can go to the slide, make your notes in the slide in a way that you'll be able to share them with your collaborative learning network, your CLN, when that's assigned to you. And so you will come into that CLN with, I'm hoping we have groups of 5, so there will be 5 different mind maps of different ways to approach and think about this problem that together you will be able to consolidate into one deep and meaningful understanding of what the problem is. So the way I started this exercise was with bundling a whole heap of ideas together and then creating the mind map. But the alternative that you have here, of course, is to start with clusters of ideas and fill them in. And the template that we've provided for you allows you to do that. So it's giving you some triggers of ideas that you might explore and think about how you would answer the questions already clustered. Now, a couple of things about this. If you're going to start with this methodology, which is fine, it's probably easier in some ways than what I've already shown you. The good students here will really think about the questions. Think about whether or not you've asked the right questions. So going through the post-it note exercise will help you get to the right questions in the first place. So one final thing. Once you're happy with your mind map and you've given some thought to your problem statement, remember that the 4th of the slides that you need to share is an outline of the research that you did. So make sure that you record what it is, what your sources were for this task. If it was only the textbook, great, but if you went online, if you had a look at some other mind mapping materials, if you used the Canvas shell, or if you use some of the other materials that are referred to in Canvas, make sure that you note all of those. Secondly, one of the things that you're required to do as that 4th slide is to reflect on your learning. So by reflect on your learning here, I'm not interested so much in what the outcome was of your mind map. We'll work with the mind maps in class. What I'm interested in is what insights you had and what they mean to you as a learner, how you're going to use these things. So as you complete each of these exercises, just stop for a moment and reflect. What do you know now that you didn't know before? Is there anything that you've unlearned that you think differently about? What was the experience of using the tool as opposed to just reading about mind mapping? Was that helpful? Was it unhelpful? Did it raise additional questions? Use that information to inspire your thinking for your reflection, and before you know it, you'll have that fourth part of the exercise done as well. Can't wait to share those insights or to hear about those insights, have you share them with me in class, and we'll meet face to face before too long. In the next video, I will walk through the journey mapping process with you. Cheers.